Blockchains are incredibly popular these days. But what is a blockchain? How do they work? What problems do they solve? And how can they be used? As the name suggests, a blockchain is a chain of blocks that contains information. This technique was originally described in 1991 by a group of researchers and was originally intended to seal digital documents so they could not be dated or manipulated, almost like a notary. However, it remained virtually unused until Satoshi Nakamoto adapted it in 2009 to create the digital cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Blockchain is a distributed block that is completely open to everyone. They have an interesting feature. Once some data is recorded within a blockchain, it becomes very difficult to change. So, how does it work? Okay, let's take a closer look at the block. Each block contains some data, the hash of the block and the hash of the previous block. The data stored within the block depends on the type of blockchain. Bitcoin blockchain, for example, stores the details of a transaction here, such as the sender, recipient, and the amount of coins. A block also has a hash. You can compare the hash to a fingerprint. It identifies a block and all its contents and is always unique, like a fingerprint. When a block is created, its hash is calculated. Changing something inside a block causes a hash to change. In other words, hash is very useful when you want to detect block changes. When the fingerprint of a block is changed, it is no longer the same block. The third element inside each block is the hash of the previous block. This effectively creates a blockchain, and it is this technique that makes the blockchain so secure. Let's take an example. Here we have a chain of 3 blocks. As you can see, each block has a hash and a hash of the previous block. So block number 3 points to block number 2, and number 2 points to number 1. Now, the first block is a little special. It cannot point to previous blocks because it's the first block. We call this the genesis block. Suppose you change the second block. This also changes the hash of the block. This in turn invalidates block 3 and all subsequent blocks, as it no longer stores a valid hash of the previous block. Changing one block will invalidate all subsequent blocks. But the use of hashes is not enough to prevent manipulation. Computers these days are very fast and can calculate hundreds of thousands of hashes each second. You have successfully manipulated a block and listed all the hashes of another block to make your blockchain valid again. So, to alleviate this problem, there is something called proof of work in the blockchain. This is a mechanism that slows down the creation of new blocks. In the case of Bitcoins, it takes about 10 minutes to calculate the required proof of work and add a new block to the chain. This mechanism makes block interference very difficult because if you interfere with one block, you will have to recalculate the work truth for all subsequent blocks. Thus, the security of the blockchain is ensured by the creative use of hashtag and the sanity check mechanism. But there is another way to secure blockchains, and that is distribution. Instead of using a CPU to manage the chain, blockchains use a peer-to-peer network and anyone can join it. When someone joins this network, he receives the entire copy of the blockchain. The node can use it to check that everything is fine. Now, let's see what happens when someone creates a new block. This new block is sent to everyone on the network. Each node then verifies the block to ensure that it has not been tampered with. If all goes well, each node adds this block to its own blockchain. All nodes in this network have reached consensus. They agree on which blocks are valid and which are not. The blocks that have been tampered with will be rejected by the other nodes in the network. So, to manipulate a blockchain, you need to manipulate all the blocks in the chain, repeat the job ID of each block, and take control of more than 50% of the peer-to-peer network. Only then will your manipulated block be accepted. It is almost impossible. Blockchain is also growing. A recent development is the creation of smart contracts. This agreement is a simple program secured in blockchain and can be used for automatic exchange of coins under certain conditions. More about smart contracts in the next video. The creation of blockchain technology has piqued great interest among people. Others soon realized that technology could be used for other things, such as storing medical records, creating a digital notary, or even collecting taxes. So now you know what a blockchain is, how it works at the basic level, and what problems it solves. Thank you for watching.